It's okay to want things the way we want it. We're the professionals. We know what we need. We know how it ought to be done. But we need to remember that the person on the other side of the table, the person that might be buying from us or negotiating with us, they know what they need too. We all need to play nice. We need to be adults. Let's talk about sales as a conversation between adults with Tom Thon next on Purpose Under Pressure. Well, welcome back. My name is Bryan, and this is Purpose Under Pressure. It's a podcast about developing sales and leadership success, not just to do it, not just to win, but on purpose and under pressure. It's brought to you by the professional sales and leadership training team at Sandler by the Ruby Group. You will find them in Akron and Columbus, Ohio. They're in Jacksonville, Florida. They're also in Capital Region, New York, and they do their work on purpose, which is why I love that they're part of this program. And your team can represent that way when you use them to help you do that. There's no gimmicks. There's no sales tricks. It's real sales and leadership development. And if your company can benefit from that kind of a thing, then I urge you to connect with them online at therubygroup.sandler.com. The Ruby Group, developing stronger sales teams for tougher conversations. So let's get cooking. Speaking of conversations, in your business, whether it's sales or with customer service or negotiations with a vendor, whatever it is, someone wants what they want. Let's cut to the chase. I mean, there's no getting around this. That's where the pressure is, right? We all want it our way. Remember the old Burger King commercials, have it your way. Well, they kind of taught us that's the way they want it. Our way isn't necessarily their way. So who gets their way? Who wins? I believe in win-win relationships in just about everything in life, especially in sales. And that means no one loses. So again, I ask, who gets their way? It's a really tough way to look at things. So many times in sales, it's me on both sides of the table. And I think that's where the pressure rises. So let's talk about that. Let's talk about adult conversations. Not always about me. And especially in sales and business, I want to do it with my friend Tom Thon. He's a Ruby Group partner and trainer, and my guest today on Purpose Under Pressure. Tom, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Bryan. Great being here.
I'm really glad you're here. And Tom, I'm not making this up. I'm not wrong, right? In fact, I think there's a Sandler rule that says sales is a conversation between adults. So tell me more. What's it look like when two people are having a conversation, but someone's not being an adult?
Yes, and it does happen. I'm reminded, Bryan, of what you mentioned a couple of moments ago. In a buyer-seller interaction, somebody's always buying something. Sometimes the buyer is buying our story. Sometimes the seller is buying their story. Mm-hmm. And we lose sight of why we're there. And in the spirit of an adult to an adult conversation, well, isn't that nice? But it doesn't always happen. And what we run into as salespeople, whether you are very experienced in your role or relatively inexperienced, sometimes we run into buyers that are treating us as subservient salespeople. They're the buyer. I will not be sold. Mm-hmm. I took this meeting as a courtesy. And we, as ideally Sandler trained professionals, recognize this and deploy tactics, Sandler techniques, mm-hmm. to get what we call equal business stature. So mm-hmm. we're just having an adult to an adult conversation. We can only control how we communicate and lead the conversation. But man, to your point, sometimes our buyers don't play nice when it's adult to an adult conversation.
And it's not always the buyer, right? Sometimes, and quite often, the buyer wants it their way, but sometimes the seller isn't in an adult frame of mind. What's that look like?
So that absolutely happens. What we see oftentimes is, and it's a natural tendency, it's a human emotion, this hand goes over heart, mm-hmm. and that is sellers get emotionally attached and involved to the opportunity. Mm-hmm. And when we get the happy ears trigger and we see these buying signals and we think, oh man, I got this one now, we have a tendency to put our guard down, and then the buyer ends up playing us like a fiddle, and we're not doing the proper job of questioning and really understanding, where am I in this process. But what we like to say is follow your process and remain emotionally unattached to the outcome.
What does it look like when both the seller and the buyer are behaving like adults? What's it supposed to look like?
Man, isn't that cool? So, I mean,
maybe
ideally,
rare, right? But
ideally, I think the word that comes to mind is respect. And I'm respecting you as the buyer and recognizing that I might be the solution, and that they recognize and respect my value and expertise and that equal business stature opportunity. So I think mutual respect is the answer to your question.
I like that. And if I'm the seller, the onus is on me to control myself and to be an adult and to practice and become a respect-worthy salesperson, if nothing else. But what can I do about the buyer? If the buyer is who he or she is and is or is not acting the way they are, they want a cookie, I'm going to have a cookie, give me a cookie, they're just not behaving.
Yes.
What can I as a seller do to reset that conversation, or at least try to get it on the right platform?
Yeah, great question. So, we can't get mad at the buyer that does something that we didn't tell them they couldn't do. And so where that leads is to a very strong, maybe the foundation of Sandler techniques called an upfront contract, Bryan. And that is a series of mutual agreements between me and you about what's going to happen in our meeting. And, we run into tough buyers, in terms of how they communicate. They're impatient. They lack empathy. They're like, go, go, go. It's still our responsibility to run the sales call. And the upfront contract has elements that's designed to do just that.
So you're actually setting the tempo right from the beginning. Here's what I'm expecting of you. Here's what you're expecting of me. Here's how we're going to have this conversation. And then when the buyer doesn't follow the rules, what happens then?
Attempt to reset and get the conversation back on track. And, the only thing we can control is ourselves.
Yeah.
Again, using upfront contract as the technique reference. When we lay out, we are spelling out, and it may not be in the first 5 minutes, but weaving these elements of why am I here? And what is it that you want to accomplish? Many salespeople are showing up and throwing up. We've all heard that overused phrase. And our job is to communicate in a very different way. I don't want to be compared to another seller. And it's not just my vertical. It can be any salesperson that you as the buyer sees. And it could be acoustic ceiling tiles, office furniture, or a car. And I don't sell any of that. But I want to be memorable in your ears and your eyes. And having control is a good way, in a respectful way, but to ensure we're going to have an adult to an adult conversation. And I'm not going to be treated like a subservient salesperson.
So I love this. I think my final question would be, because it sounds like it makes a lot of sense. And I'm worried that sometimes, though, the buyer doesn't care. If the buyer is a child, I did on the podcast just before this one a few days ago, I told a story about my granddaughter who we gave a plate of cookies to. She's 2 years old. And I said, or I didn't actually, Grandma did. Honey, take these cookies and give them to everybody. Everybody wants a cookie. Share these cookies. And she took the plate of cookies and sat down and started eating them. And of course, there wasn't an upfront conversation going on. We handed her a plate of cookies.
You can mad at her for doing something you didn't tell her she couldn't do.
You didn't tell her. She just, the way she started. And of course, when we took those cookies away, that was on us.
Yes.
She's a child no matter what. When a buyer is a child no matter what, and they're going to do it their way no matter what, how does this upfront contract at least try to make things better? Or does it actually uncover things that weren't going to work in the first place? Like, does it have some better value than just saying, here's how it's going to be?
Well, it is a series of mutual agreements. I mean, literally, that's
That's
Sandler
key.
terminology.
That's
And so
key.
I've got to get you to agree on our time, why
Mhm.
we're here. I want to know what's on your list for us to cover. I've got a list. And then we're going to agree about what happens next.
Love that.
And when we tell our buyers that it's okay to tell us no, that is a core value of Sandler. When we tell you, the prospect, the buyer, that, you know what, we may not be the right fit, it depends on what I'm selling. So we need to filter that. But when we do that, typically it's designed to take the pressure out of the room, and we can just have a meaningful, literally, we say, adult to adult conversation
Yeah.
about whether or not I can help. And if I can't, I'm okay with that because I'm going to remain emotionally unattached to the outcome.
I love that. And at least if you're talking and the person says, look, that makes sense and but this is how it's going to be, at least you know as a seller, okay, these are the rules. These are how we're going to be. I'm okay with it. And if you're not, you get up and walk out or reset again. But at least you know what the playing field looks like. And you can then, kind of take it in there and move it
And
forward.
it's, I should add, it's critical that we communicate this in a very nurturing way. It's not a my way or the highway. We're getting an agreement every step of the way.
Mm.
But, we say nurture, nurture, nurture. And when we are being treated poorly, and it happens, we still have to maintain our composure. I mean, been around the block a couple million times and you're treating me like this. And most salespeople, it's easier for me to say no emotional attachment. Well, guess what?
No, yeah.
We want to make the sale. So there's this natural
Yes.
emotional attachment. And so
Yeah.
we just have to take a deep breath. It's our job to recognize how you're communicating, and I'll pivot accordingly. But there's no arm wrestling going on here.
Yeah. Yeah.
And if it looks like this ain't going anywhere, then I will politely and in a nurturing way suggest we end the call.
Yeah. And I think that's so much key. I started the show talking about me, me, me. It can't be about me, me, me. It's got to be about us. And we've all got to get what we need out of it. And it's fair for us as sellers to allow the buyer to do the same. And I think that's working with adults. That's doing things right. And when a seller is under pressure that way, I think it adds to that purpose. Says, no, I am an adult. I'm going to act like an adult. This is who I am. And this is how I'm going to treat this person on the other side of the table.
Great point there. And I'm reminded of a mindset. Do I need to make the sale or do I want to make the sale?
It's different, isn't it?
If I need to make the sale, I mean, it's the last day of the month and I'm this far from quota, I'm going to communicate and behave differently as opposed to, you know what, my pipeline is really strong. I'm having a great quarter. And if we end up not doing business together, that's okay. But when my pipeline is skinny and I haven't been doing the prospecting behaviors that I should be doing up until, here it is, 2 days left in the month. And all of a sudden I'm like, uh-oh, then the buyer has all the power. I'm going to communicate differently. And then I'm going to end up acting more like the child with the plate of cookies. But I'm going to try to give them all to the buyer and not protect my brand, the inventory, whatever the elements might be of my sale.
There's so much that goes to it. And the other thing, as we wrap up, this whole idea, the Sandler rule number one, that sales is a conversation between adults. Folks, if you're out there and you're not a seller or you're not a business owner or whatever it may be, it works at home too. It works with your spouse. It works with your kids. It works with just about anything you're trying to get accomplished. If we can do things together to the benefit of all on purpose, everyone wins. And I think that's what it's all about. And if you're listening to this at all, Sandler by the Ruby Group, these are the things that they talk about there. And these are the ways that we use our own humanity to become better at sales and to help alleviate the pressure. So Tom Thon, thank you so much for being our guest on Purpose Under Pressure.
Thank you, Bryan. Great being with you, man.
Really glad you were here. That's Tom Thon. He's partner and trainer at Sandler by the Ruby Group, and you can find him on LinkedIn or learn more about the Ruby Group and Sandler sales training at therubygroup.sandler.com. Folks, thanks for being here. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Thanks for coming back. And if you are back, please don't forget to like us or follow us, subscribe, tell a friend. I like to say, tell your mom if she's the only one to listen to you. We want other people to know that this show is worth a listen. That helps other people know the show is out there. You'll find all past episodes of Purpose Under Pressure at bryanmediastrategies.com/purpose and wherever you stream your favorite shows. It's brought to you by the Ruby Group, developing stronger sales teams for tougher conversations. We do this every week, and we will see you next time on Purpose.